A very good morning. Welcome along to the Football Martin channel. Welcome along, Southampton fans. Good morning, Saints fans. I thought I'd do a morning live because I do a lot of evening lives. I just thought I'd mix up the content that I put out and put it out at different times of day. Loads of people can catch up as well. If you're watching live, get involved in the comments box below. You can react to some of the conversation and topics that I'm going to be talking about this morning. And if you're watching on catch up as well, make sure you do get involved in the comments. I will come back and read them. I always do. A fair bit to talk about this morning. I want to talk Glenn Delacour. He's done his player ratings for the season, which had me in so many stitches this morning. I was giggling and laughing for all the wrong reasons, but it was absolutely brilliant from him. I'll talk to you a little bit about that. Ownership rumours, we're going to obviously pick up from where we left off on Monday. A few more stories being linked out around that. Big player sales expected, by the way. We're going to cover that in the show as well. Transfer rumblings. There's a few little transfer rumblings. One interesting story that I read yesterday, which I'm going to bring to you on the show, and the player commitment yesterday in the interview that Ryan Manning's done with the press. He did some interviews yesterday with some of the press down at the training ground like they do. They put a player out each week where the members of the press can go and speak to that player. I'd love to be able to do that at some stage. But Adam Blackmore did a piece, Alfie, the Echo, and George as well. So I've read their clips, and what I've done, I've snipped up some of Ryan Manning's statistics actually from the season so far. So we'll have a look at his statistic. He was talking, so we'll react to that for sure. But thank you for joining me this morning. Let's see who is in the house. There's a few of you here. Lynn, thank you for joining on this beautiful Wednesday morning. What a lovely, lovely day it is. I did the school run a little while ago and it was absolutely beautiful out there. So nice, warm already. It feels like you're abroad on holiday, doesn't it? But yeah, absolutely lovely out there. So yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful day. Right. I wanted to touch upon Glenn Delacour and his blog, League One minus 10. I popped it up on your screen. Make sure you go give this a read because it was absolutely brilliant when I was reading it this morning. League One minus 10, the player review of 24-25, featuring some not terribly complimentary verdicts, and he was very true on that. And he speaks about the squad. He marks each player out of 10, and he also goes on to say whether he would be bothered if they leave or whether they stay. And it makes absolutely brilliant reading. So I totally recommend you go give that a read. I've shared it on my X page. I will put a link in the description below once I finish the live so you can go and read it. But it is really funny. Glenn's absolutely superb. He's on TSP every Sunday. I tune in just to listen to Glenn because I love what he's got to say. And he's never wrong really, but he does go through the squad. I'm going to pull out a couple of snippets actually of what he said because I did think it was so good, such a good read. Some of you may have seen it already. I'm going to grab up some of those comments that he made, and he was right on the squad. And to be fair, I couldn't disagree with a lot of what he said. And it's hard to be complimentary about a lot of players, but he does go through and pick out certain players' performances this season, and he's I think he made some good points certainly on the goalkeeping situation. He spoke about Aaron Ramsdale. He would love to keep Aaron Ramsdale, like I love to keep Aaron Ramsdale. We don't think that is going to happen. He went on to say, "Do I want him to stay? Yes. Chances of him staying zero. Totally agree with that. Bothered if he leaves, expecting it so. It speaks whether they're a championship player. He does this for each player. He said if he stayed, he would be an absolute starter. But we all believe that he's been brilliant this season. He'd give him an 8 out of 10. I would totally and utterly agree with that. I think he's spot on. Spoke about Gavin Bazunu. He looks like he's injured. I spoke about that in a show early on this week. Like Glenn said, he proved himself not to really be good enough for the championship. I agree with that comment last time round. Being the worst performing goalkeeper when you measured the statistics and the shots he should have saved. Do you want him to stay? He said yes, but I think he's talking about him in a backup sense. Chances of him staying are pretty high. He's put down 80%. Bothered if he leaves. He says still young. But yeah, he would bother him if he went. It's whether he can be a championship backup goalkeeper next season. To what you think Alex McCarthy will probably be the number one for sure. He spoke about Carl Walker-Peters. I agree with this. We've let his contract run down. Well done for Saints on doing that. Thank you very much for your time, Carl. You've been brilliant. I've said this in a couple of shows that I've done recently. We all want him to stay. No chances of him staying, like he said. He's out of contract. He will move on. He would be a dead starter next season, but he's had a brilliant 5 years with us, hasn't he? Absolutely magnificent. This was quite a funny one. He spoke about Yuki Sugawara. I'm going to cover two more players before we move on to the next segment. He said Yuki Sugawara, it's a contrast in what we probably saw at the start. Really, I think we all thought he was going to be a really promising player, a player that seems to be a really nice bloke. You want him to do well, has the attacking side to his game. He said the fact that he's defensively one of the worst fullbacks that he's ever seen in the 50 years of watching Saints, said Glenn. No composure, no consistency, panics at the slightest pressure of an opponent and has no awareness. I think he sums it up absolutely correct. Does he want him to stay? He said no. The chances of him staying, 50%. I totally agree with what Glenn said there. I think he has really struggled, Yuki Sugawara. Right, a couple of other players to pull out before we move on to the next segment. This is one that I agree on as well, regard to Flynn Downs. He wants him to stay like I want Flynn Downs to stay. He said he struggled in the Premier League, but absolutely bossed the Championship last time round, and we are going to need that again. We spoke a lot about Fernandes and how good Fernandes is, and you bring Shea Charles back into that. And Glenn is saying you put them into a midfield three, and it would be a really, really good Championship midfield. That really, really would be. The final player I'm gonna pick up on is Sam Edozie. A lot of big fans of him on the channel. Spent the season out on loan with Anderlecht. From reports, he's done really, really well. And look, I think we all want him to stay. We want to bring him back. Chances of him staying are 80%, said Glenn. I totally agree with that. Championship starter without any question. He's probably not a Premier League player, but I do agree with Glenn on his comments on that. I really do. I think he will come back and do a really, really good job for us next season in the Championship. Give me all your thoughts to those ratings, what we were talking about. Thank you for the guys that are tuning in, watching live. Absolutely brilliant. Thank you very much. Phil says, is Edozie strong enough? I think it's a big question whether he's bulked out a bit since he's been away. That'd be interesting to see. That will be really interesting to see whether he comes back a little bit more filled out than he actually was before he went, because he did look quite lightweight. Right, let's go on to ownership rumours. Still loads been spoke about. Dragan Solak, is he ready to sell up? Yes or no? It was put out there, which is funny, but the fact it went out there and it was leaked by people on Monday, and now it's kind of built a bit more steam. There's been more little leaks. Someone on the inside is leaking. That's how I see it. I might be wrong. TalkSport said yesterday, this is TalkSport, who have close links, by the way. They said that interest in buying Southampton is growing, apparently. Dragan Solak could be tempted to sell his shares, but they say the price tag will be in excess of £125 million, is what they're saying, which seems fairly cheap for a football club, doesn't it? He's put a fair bit of money in. Would he get a return on it? I was chatting to a few people about football and business yesterday, and we were trying to look at the numbers, whether they recoup what he's put in. Potentially, there's going to need to be sales this summer, and that's another point that came out yesterday, another story. And big for me, big player sales are expected. There is no doubt about that, because the tweets and the stories going around yesterday is apparently Solak reportedly believes Southampton can raise over £100 million in player sales this summer. He would definitely be looking at Aaron Ramsdale. Taylor Harwood-Bellis, they believe he will go. Tyler Dibbling, whether they cash in on Matheus Fernandes, and some club will take a punt on him. Armand Bella-Kotchap, Kamaldeen Sulemana. I think they'll sell Joe Aribo. I think there will be huge player sales in this window. I really do. I think the biggest thing for me is, though, with the player sales is how deep that goes and what we're left with at the end of it. I do fear for us a little bit. I'm going to be totally honest with you. I do fear a little bit with whether the club is for sale, those rumours around Sport Republic, whether that's true or not, I think it's a really interesting topic of conversation at this moment in time. If you're a Saints fan, I think the timing's really off. I do. I said that in my live on Monday, and I still feel the timing is off. But story's been linked. There's stuff coming out via TalkSport, and it usually comes out via Jim White and Simon Jordan. I've said that a few times. Make sure you scan that code on your left-hand side of your screen to grab audio podcast from my channel. Everything I do is in audio format as well. So, yeah, thank you for tuning in, Barry. Really appreciate you tuning in this morning. It's very, very kind of you. Keep your comments coming in the live, and if you're watching on catch-up, make sure you do give me all your thoughts on the player sales this summer. But it does worry me of what we are going to be left with come the start of the next championship season. We could go into next season weaker than what we went into the last championship campaign. And when you think about it, we won't have Adams. We won't have Stuart Armstrong. We won't have Kyle Walker-Peters. We're going to lose Ramsdale, who's been with us this year. I think Joe Aribo will be cashed in on. Silamana, Paul. That's 7 off the top of my head already. Dibbling. Big Leslie Ugochukwu who's going to go. I do think we're going to be in a weaker position. I do worry about where we are going to be at come the start of the season. I hope business can be really dealt with in a really good way this summer. And the team that head up the transfers get it spot on. But Jonas Balls has a big job in his hands. A rumour yesterday, I thought I'd bring this one to you on the channel. Sheffield Wednesday are not too worried about losing their goalkeeper, Pierce Charles. He's the brother to Shay Charles. There's interest apparently from Southampton and Leicester, but Sheffield Wednesday are confident that he will stay for 2025. But I've heard some really, really good reports about him. If Danny Rowell comes as the manager, would he go back and raid Sheffield Wednesday? I think the Danny Rowell story will pick up steam because the championship ends this weekend. Will that be Danny Rowell's last game at Sheffield Wednesday this weekend? I think that story will really, really start to hot up. Simon Rusk was also speaking about Cam Archer. I wanted to touch upon that in the show this morning. He said Cam is great to work with, desperate to get better. He has great potential. I believe that as well. Never have I seen a player lose confidence like I have done in him over the last couple of months, but I do think he's been managed really, really badly. I've said that quite a few times on my channel. I just think he is a really good player. He's got great potential. Yes, he got relegated last season with Sheffield United as well. And Saints picked him up for 15 million, so it's not cheap, and getting a return on him isn't going to be that easy. There's no doubt about that. It will be difficult to get a return on him. I think he'd definitely be here next season, and I hope we utilise him in some way or form because he's a top lad and I really like him. And if we could get him confident, get him scoring some goals early on in the championship season, I think he could be really, really important for us next season. I'd love to get your thoughts on that as well, but I am really excited to see him in the championship next season, and I really do. I hope that we keep him as well. I'm just going to gift out 5 memberships to 5 of you that are watching live as well. So you get a 3 months membership from me from my channel, and you will be able to get some of my exclusive videos I'm going to put out as we head to the weekend. Quite a bit of build up around the Leicester game. I've got a live stream tomorrow night just to touch upon before we come on to the final story. I've got a couple of fans hopefully going to be joining me on that one. We're going to look ahead to the weekend's game against Leicester. We'll talk about the summer. We'll talk about the rumours this week as well with a couple of fans as well. So I'm going to interact and let them come into the show as well. All the players you've mentioned have not been brilliant. Yeah, I agree. I do agree, Stephen. I do think that Kyle Walker-Peters would have been immense in the championship again. I do think that Fernandes would be immense in the championship. And yeah, I know I spoke about Silamana. He's not been great. I get your point. I just feel that Aribo was an important player in the championship. He won't be here next time. Adams was massive in the championship last time. He won't be here. Stuart Armstrong was immense. There were some players that were really good in the championship. That's what I'm kind of saying. That I'm worried about personally. That's just me being totally honest. The bearded UFO guy, absolute legend, comment on all my stuff, share all my tweets. You, my friend, are an absolute legend. So thank you very, very much for all your support. Hi, Martin. Hopefully a couple of seasons in the championship will give us a bit of stability. listening to you from Australia. Thank you very much indeed for tuning in from Australia. Hope the weather is nice where you are as well. I'm not convinced personally. I want to see us in the Championship for more than a season, and I'm going to give you my reason why. I feel they will need to raise 100 million in transfer sales for relegation to balance the books. The problem is, in second season syndrome, like Leeds have had, you need a rich owner that's going to be prepared to put 100 million pound in year two to fill the void by the parachute payments and to keep bolstering the squad to get you back. The problem is, if you don't go back at the first attempt, is he, Solak, going to be prepared to put another 100 million pound in? Because that's probably what it takes. It'd take 50 to 100 million to go back again. And that's probably my biggest fear, is if we don't go back up, what happens then? I think it's a pivotal season. Sport Republic got really, really lucky last time round by us getting promoted, and they would have been absolutely bricking it going into those playoffs that we weren't going to go back up. So I do think it's absolutely vital that we do go back up. Stephen also went on to say we need real spend, real creativity plus leaders. I think we need leaders, and I agree. Regards to real spend, I don't think we'll get real spend. I'll be totally honest with you. We need creativity. I totally and utterly get that, and I totally agree with you. I agree wholeheartedly. I just don't think we'll get the spend. Leaders, when I think I was listening to Total Saints podcast on Sunday, and Glenn went on and he spoke about the Fulham squad, and he was looking at their bench and their squad, and he was saying how many of those players in the Fulham squad had played Premier League football, and I agreed. And you look at us, we buy young up and coming promising talent, and it's not worked for 3 seasons, so it's got to stop. You have to have a balance, and I agree. You need you need leaders. Yeah, you need the creativity from the young players. You need the flair, and I believe that you cannot just buy young players. Simon Austin, thank you for joining, mate. Hi, Martin. I agree with you. Regard Archer will be immense in the Championship next season. He have to be managed correctly, in my opinion. We need to keep hold of him, he says. Also, would you personally like to see our who would I like to see as our manager? Look, I'm real torn on it. I think Liam Rosenior for me was someone I would have loved to have seen. You look what Hull City did. That decision to sack him, and what they're going to get relegated. Ruben Sellers is going to relegate another team there. They will get relegated from the Championship. Hull. I think Rosenior would have been good. I like Danny Röhl, whether he's got enough experience. I want somebody that knows that division, that's experience. I think we're looking at a young manager. I don't think we're looking at an experienced manager. I think we'll end up with a Will Steele. I think we'll end up with a Danny Röhl. I think we'll end up with the young players. There's talk of this Eric Ramsey guy. I don't think Eric Ramsey will necessarily get the job. But for me, Will Steele, I think, is in the frame. They've interviewed him already. Somebody said that it took McMenemy 7 seasons. Very true. Football's changed massively. It would be my argument to that. It has massively, massively changed. It's the Premier League and the money and the speed and the pace of this division and the pace of football. The gap between the two divisions is bigger now than it's ever been. Josh, thank you for joining the live this morning, mate. Really, really appreciate it. Rasmus said in the fan forum, we're going to take a long-term approach. Then other teams to get back to the top 10 in the Premier League completely ruined us in the short term, though. And that's the biggest problem, Josh. We have been massively ruined in the short term. They spoke about the 10-year plan, the long-term plan. It's all out the window now. It's been ripped up. The notes have been ripped up. It's all being ripped up because of the 2 relegations that they've had during their ownership. Right. We are coming to the back end of this morning live here on the Football Martin channel. Thank you for tuning in. If you're not subscribed, make sure you subscribe to the channel and you'll be notified of when I do more live content. Another live content tomorrow evening, 7 p.m. Ryan Manning, he was speaking yesterday, and I want to touch upon Ryan Manning, some of his performances this season. He said, I'm absolutely committed to Saints next season. And I think everyone in the changing room wants to get the club back here. I disagree with the second bit about everybody in the changing room wanting to get Saints back. I think he'd be backing his teammates. I'm not sure everyone in the dressing room will be there wanting to get Saints back, because I think a few of them will be wanting to jump ship. There's been players that have had agent changes mid-season, and there's noise rumbling around those players already. But I believe he does. He spoke about his pride in playing in the Premier League, how tough the Premier League is. He's delighted to have played in the Premier League. I get that. I'm not convinced he'd get loads more opportunities to play in the Premier League at any other club. I just think that we were a little bit lightweight this year, and it's opened the door for him. But I think he's done okay. I'm going to put out his stats now. We'll take a look at Ryan Manning's stats since he's not really got in the team till post Martin leaving, which is mad. Everyone said he was Martin's mate, and Russell Martin didn't play him that much. But these are his Premier League statistics. I want to put them on the screen for you now. So this is what Ryan Manning has done in the Premier League. This is from FTMOB. Great for player stats. Tackles won, 60% of his tackles he's been winning, which is not bad. 17 he's won. Dribbled past just the 12 times. Possession won in the final third. Only 3 times has he won possession in the final third, which is really low. It was on the really low side. Aerial duels won, 13, 68%. 16 interceptions, which was fairly low when you looked across the other players within the squad. Dribble success, he's not a dribbler, 44%, really, really low. He's had just 1 assist this season to a goal. His XG assists were 2.69. He's had 7 shots at goal. But my opinion on Ryan Manning, I think he's done all right this season in the Premier League. I think he's one player that comes out of it actually with a little bit of credit. And credit where credit due is I do think he's come out of the season with a little bit of credit. I think he's done okay and probably stepped up a little bit more as some of the others. But for me, he's probably not a Premier League player by any stretch of the imagination. Will he do a good job in the Championship next season? There's no doubt about that. He will do a job for us next season. He will be here. We brought Charlie Taylor in to be the first choice left back, and look how that has worked out. Quite incredible, really. Quite incredible that Charlie Taylor is nowhere near the first team squad. Ryan Manning has strangely progressed. I totally agree, Stephen. I think you're absolutely spot on with that. I totally agree with that. Thank you very much for joining me this morning. I hope you've enjoyed a morning live, something slightly different. Had a little bit of time on my hands this morning, so I thought, yeah, do you know what? I'll do a live stream, and loads of you have tuned in and watched, so I really appreciate that. It's very, very kind of you. Nick makes a good comment here as well. Has anyone looked at Brian Prisgate? Despite being an ex-Pompey, he has some caliber. Good record. Thanks for the gifted membership, Martin. Wasn't listening and then saw it come in. Brilliant. Appreciate it, Nick. Welcome along to the channel. I do loads of Saints content week in, week out. Do a lot of match content as well. Brian, I don't know loads about him. I'm going to go away and research him now. You've got me right on the spot, Nick, but I'm going to go and research him now. That's for sure. So I will do that. So thank you very much for everyone tuning in. It's been an absolute blast this morning. Like I say, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't done already. Smash a like on it. Be back again tomorrow with a live stream, 8 o'clock to tomorrow evening. And if you're not following me over on TikTok, go give me a follow over on TikTok at @FootballMartin_. I'm doing some keep, sell, or loan on players where you can get involved. Today's player will be Will Smallbone, and that's going out later on this morning. Have a great Wednesday. Enjoy the sunshine because it's a beautiful day out there. And I'll see you again very, very soon.